The story of Martin Kok is one of intrigue and suspense. A man born in a quiet, modest town who chose to immerse himself in the dangerous and shadowy underworld of Amsterdam. His journey was anything but ordinary. Martin not only became a figure in this underground world, but he also transformed into a notorious crime journalist, but not in the conventional way. His blog, Vlinderscrime, became a groundbreaking source of information, where he wasn't afraid to post unverified rumors, uncensored photos of suspected criminals, and carelessly risk the potential consequences of spreading false information. The price of his fame came in the form of threats from notorious criminals, and Martin was fully aware that his career could be cut short at any moment. Yet he never backed down. With a smile on his face, Martin continued to publish sensational articles that stirred public attention until one fatal mistake changed everything. His life transitioned from a carefree young man to a renowned crime journalist, and ultimately to a man who would pay dearly for the choices he made. Born on June 25, 1967 in Edam, a quiet town in the Netherlands, but Martin's childhood was far from peaceful. He grew up in a family involved in the eel trade, a simple business but one that kept him busy. At the age of 12, Martin began delivering fresh fish and eels to bars and restaurants in Amsterdam, and it was there that he first encountered a world more complex and dangerous than it appeared on the surface. For Martin's family, transporting fish and eels to Amsterdam's bustling districts was just another day's work. However, the street that would haunt Martin's memory forever was Zeedyk, a notorious area rife with heroin dealers and addicts. Despite the danger, Martin was not deterred. Instead, he was drawn to the chaos, the peril, and the mysterious people who inhabited this world. Prostitutes, pimps, and especially the Hells Angels gang. Everything in this world fascinated him, and he couldn't take his eyes off it. The thrill of living in a completely different world, one he had never imagined, kept Martin from returning to his peaceful life. And so he stepped into a realm of power and crime, where criminal masterminds like the Amsterdam's Pinots ruled. This was the pivotal moment that transformed Martin Kok from an eel vendor into a prominent figure in Amsterdam's criminal underworld. Martin's school years were not easy. Even as a child, he faced numerous difficulties with his studies. His speech was never fluent, and his words often stumbled. His classmates quickly noticed these differences and mockingly gave him the nickname Martin the Stammerer. It was a name that, while unkind, would stick with him for the rest of his life. At 16, Martin found a job at the movies, a nightclub in his hometown of Volendam. Initially, his role was simple: managing the coat check, where patrons would leave their belongings while enjoying the club. Little did anyone know this would mark the beginning of a dark path from which Martin would never return. The nightclub security staff soon noticed something special about him. Perhaps it was his bravery or his ability to keep secrets. They entrusted him with a side job that no one knew about: selling small bags of cocaine to the club's patrons. This marked the first step in Martin's journey to build a drug network that would help him dive even deeper into the world of crime. Over time, Martin would openly recall his wild days, proudly stating, "I covered Volendam with cocaine." This declaration was almost like an admission of guilt from someone who had fallen deeply into the world of drugs and crime, a path he could no longer escape from. Martin's personality was a blend of aggression and an undeniable charm. He was tall, strong, and had a commanding presence, yet he was also friendly and approachable. This combination made him both feared and respected, always at the center of trouble. As Martin sank further into the criminal underworld, his actions became increasingly reckless and unpredictable. In the summer of 1988, at just 21 years old, Martin shocked everyone by proving his mettle. A former schoolmate began working in the same trade that Martin had established in the area, and this infuriated Martin. Without hesitation, he pulled out a gun and shot his former friend. This was Martin's way of asserting his power in the region. But this wasn't the last time Martin would assert his dominance. A notorious figure named Peter Gijsbergen had angered Martin by brutally beating his younger brother. Unable to forgive this crime, Martin decided to end Gijsbergen's reign once and for all. On February 12, 1989, when Gijsbergen showed up at the De Blokut Cafe, tensions immediately escalated. A fierce brawl erupted, and in the midst of the chaos, Martin took things to another level. He grabbed a bar stool and slammed it violently into Gijsbergen's head. The blow not only left Gijsbergen dazed, but also inflicted a serious wound, deeply impressing those who witnessed Martin's brutal act. After the altercation at the cafe, the bartender hurriedly dragged Gijsbergen outside, leaving him unconscious in the cold street. Gijsbergen lay there for 4 hours, but no taxi driver would pick him up. Unwilling to get involved in the violence, he remained on the street, his bloodied body racked with pain until someone finally took him to the hospital. By then it was too late. Gijsbergen succumbed to his injuries. His death not only ended the reign of a dangerous man, but also complicated Martin's life, further throwing everything into even more turmoil. The incident led to Martin and his friend Dino Sorrell being put on trial. Martin was sentenced to 5 years in prison, while Dino received a 4-year sentence. However, what was strange was that Martin showed no remorse. Contrary to what one might expect, he boldly declared in court, "I don't regret it for even a second. The people of Volendam are even grateful for what I did. They want to build a statue of me because I got rid of Gijsbergen, the one who spread fear and chaos every weekend in Volendam's nightlife." Martin's life took a surprising turn when he was imprisoned. There he met 2 of the most infamous criminals in the Netherlands, Willem Holleder and Cor van Hout. Both had unforgettable criminal histories, especially for their involvement in the kidnapping of the Heineken beer tycoon, a case known as the trial of the century. Martin quickly became friends with Cor van Hout, and from there a business partnership was formed. Cor became Martin's accomplice in many operations, guiding him into darker and more illicit activities, from extortion to various illegal money-making schemes. As Martin's criminal career flourished, his personal life began to unravel. His relationship with Sandra, the woman he loved, started to deteriorate severely. The arguments over custody of their child became more intense, making the situation increasingly unmanageable. Then on July 24th, 2001, Martin's fury erupted. He couldn't control his rage when he discovered that Sandra had started a new relationship. In a fit of fury, he jumped into his car and sped straight to Sandra's house, where she was staying with her new boyfriend. Upon arrival, Martin stormed in like a hurricane. Sandra was with her boyfriend, and when he tried to intervene, the situation quickly escalated. Overcome with anger, Martin drew his gun and fired multiple shots at Sandra's new partner. The gunshots rang out, blood splattered, and chaos ensued. Not only did Martin shatter his own relationship, but he also created a world of pain and guilt that he could never escape from. After the shooting at Sandra's house, Martin didn't stop there. To add to the turmoil and to further assert his dangerous presence, he posted a recording of Sandra's 911 call online, along with a gruesome image of her boyfriend lying in a pool of blood. This act immediately grabbed attention, and before long, Martin was arrested. This time, luck was no longer on his side, and he was sentenced to 14 years in prison. When asked about his violent actions, Martin casually replied, "If anyone touches my child, I go crazy." His words revealed the brutal and uncontrollable side of Martin, especially when it came to his family. During his time in prison, Martin never allowed himself to fall into despair. With his sharp mind and experience in the world of brokering, he took advantage of the internet access provided in prison and launched a brokerage service named Vlinderscrime, inspired by the word butterflies in Dutch. The service catered primarily to his fellow inmates, helping them meet their girlfriends or wives during visiting hours without supervision. Martin used his outside connections to hire women to pose as the girlfriends or wives of prisoners, creating an underground network within the prison walls. He openly shared with a reporter that he was just helping his friends in prison with this service, but clearly it was an unacceptable practice within the prison system. The prison guards quickly found out and were not pleased. They placed him in solitary confinement, isolated for 2 weeks, but Martin didn't care. He saw it as a price worth paying for the attention he received. When he was released, he was greeted by fellow inmates who surrounded him, applauding him loudly. For Martin, being punished was just part of the game, and the fame he gained in prison was far more important. When his sentence ended at the age of 47, Martin decided to start a new life. But instead of choosing a lawful path, he plunged into a more dangerous and risky field, becoming a crime blogger. In 2015, Martin launched his crime blog called Vlinderscrime. It was a place where he published all sorts of dirty news, unverified cases, and even rumors that no one knew for sure were true. What set Martin apart was his incredibly bold approach, sometimes deemed unethical. He didn't hesitate to post shocking information, blood-soaked stories about Irish Mafia bosses, Moroccan drug lords, and assassination plots that few dared to expose. Martin even didn't care about blurring the faces of underworld figures to get the clearest images possible. His blog quickly gained attention, attracting a large audience. Controversial crime stories were the driving force behind his website's explosive traffic. But it didn't stop at writing. Martin also boasted about the lavish parties he attended, meetings with notorious criminals, and his luxurious life in the shadows. With each post, Martin not only delivered information, but also proved that he was someone daring enough to live a life unlike any other, regardless of the dangers that lurked ahead. Unlike traditional media outlets in the Netherlands, which only published the names and initials of criminals, Martin boldly revealed the full names of the individuals involved, breaking every conventional journalism rule. Moreover, he refused to cover the faces of anyone in his photos, making sure his readers couldn't look away from the disturbing truths he wanted to expose. With this audacious and unforgiving writing style, Martin quickly built an enormous following. His blog attracted over 1 million visits a month, an astonishing number, not only from the criminal underworld in the Netherlands, but also from curious individuals eager to explore the shadows of society. At the height of its popularity, Martin's website surpassed 4 million monthly views, making him a phenomenon in the world of crime journalism. With this fame, Martin not only satisfied his passion for unveiling the truths of the criminal world, but also turned his blog into a money-making venture. He sold banner ads to a variety of businesses, from law firms and spy equipment shops to various other brands, earning thousands of euros every month. Martin himself admitted that he made a significant amount of money from this, but his boldness also turned him into a target for various underground forces. He didn't shy away from writing about some of the biggest names in Dutch crime, from drug lords to mafia bosses. What was even more dangerous was that he was one of the first to publicly expose Riddu Taghi, a name that was still largely unknown at the time. Martin's posts made him a marked man, and the criminal world grew to despise him. But he didn't just expose information, he mocked some of the most notorious criminals. Most of the information he got came from old prison friends, but instead of verifying the rumors, Martin treated them as fact and quickly posted them on his blog without hesitation. This reckless disregard for the truth angered many criminals, and they began to see Martin as a serious threat. Although their names had never appeared on his blog, but they feared the day when their identities might be exposed. Through this daring and dangerous approach, Martin quickly became a target for several assassination attempts. In November 2015, an attack aimed at him occurred after he posted an article about Willem Holleder, who had dined with another criminal gang. Martin's house and car were shot at, becoming the target of gunfire. However, in stark contrast to what his attackers had hoped, Martin emerged unscathed. He merely mocked the situation, treating it as a joke. When asked about the attack, Martin casually replied, if they want to visit, they shouldn't forget to leave their name, and joked that his car now had free air conditioning thanks to the bullet holes. However, the dangers didn't stop there. In July 2016, an explosive device was found under Martin's car. A passerby noticed something suspicious and called the police. The device was safely dismantled and detonated in a different area. Experts later confirmed that its destructive power was immense, and if it had gone off, the consequences would have been catastrophic. Martin simply saw this as another part of his risky lifestyle, showing no signs of fear. After the incident, he continued posting articles about Riddu Taghi and underground organizations, even mocking Nufel Fassi, who had taken him to court. When faced with a lawsuit, Martin provocatively responded, "Come on, you fat bastard." Despite living in constant danger, Martin continued to revel in the attention from the media. He laughed off the threats he faced, adopting a mindset of "I've already become a legend in the underground world." His defiance seemed to only amplify his notoriety. Not long after, Martin shocked the public again by exposing Gerrit Groenheid, a corrupt customs official who played a central role in a massive drug trafficking network. Groenheid didn't just allow containers filled with cocaine to pass through the Netherlands unchecked. He also guided the smugglers on how to avoid detection by their colleagues. This revelation exploded in the media, shocking and outraging many. Martin, with his unflinching nature, had struck a deep wound in the corrupt ranks of government officials. But Martin's boldness didn't stop there. He continued to foster questionable connections. including with the company MP, which specialized in selling encrypted phones. He promoted their services on his Vlinderscrime website. Later, it was discovered that MP was actually run by two infamous Gillespie brothers from Glasgow, and their financial support of Martin could have been part of a much larger scheme they were orchestrating. Whether Martin had fully become entangled in criminal activities remained unclear, but his connections were becoming increasingly complex and dangerous. On December 8, 2016, a meeting with Christopher Scotty Hughes at the Citizen M Hotel in Amsterdam marked a turning point in Martin's high-risk life. Scotty, representing MP, wanted to discuss a huge advertising deal. While they were talking at the bar, a mysterious man walked in. He chose a strategic spot, keeping a close eye on Martin, and Scotty then silently sat down. After a few minutes, the man stood up and left the hotel, but not before lingering outside, watching everything that was happening inside. At 7:35 p.m., as Martin and Scotty were leaving the hotel, an unexpected event occurred. Surveillance footage captured a man rushing up behind Martin, aiming a gun at him and seemingly pulling the trigger. However, something strange happened. There was no gunshot, no injury. Was the attacker hesitating, or was the weapon malfunctioning? Martin didn't notice anything unusual, and the assailant quickly fled. Upon reviewing the footage, it became chillingly clear. Martin had narrowly escaped death without realizing it. A nearly perfect assassination attempt had failed at the crucial moment. Martin casually walked out of the hotel with Scotty, completely unaware that he had just cheated death. Not long after, the two drove to Boccaccio, an exclusive gentleman's club in Laren. The villa was nestled in a quiet forest, surrounded by tall fences and a massive gate, with only one entrance. But that night, while they enjoyed their privacy at the club, an unknown figure managed to sneak past the fence and hid in the bushes right in front of Martin's car. Neither Martin nor Scotty realized that darkness was closing in around them, and once again, death was only a step away. Around 11:20 p.m., when Martin and Scotty were leaving the club, everything seemed calm. No one suspected the tragedy that was about to unfold. Martin walked ahead, while Scotty trailed a few meters behind. As Martin reached the car, opened the door, sat in the driver's seat, and fastened his seatbelt, a figure suddenly lunged from the bushes like a gust of wind. Before Martin could react, a gunshot rang out, and everything ended in the blink of an eye. The police arrived immediately, but it was too late. Martin had fallen right there. The attacker quickly vanished into the forest, leaving no trace, though those around them were still in shock. The situation was clear. Martin had become the target of a meticulously planned conspiracy. Strangely, Scotty, who had been with Martin, was unharmed. Immediately after the incident, he hastily fled the scene without looking back. Some sources suggest that Scotty voluntarily went to the police station the following day to report the incident, while others claim he was discovered and arrested by the police. When interrogated, Scotty explained that he had intended to leave with Martin in the car, but decided to wait while Martin drove off first. While waiting, he witnessed the entire event. However, panic caused him to flee the scene, leaving everything behind. The question remained: was Scotty truly an innocent victim, or was he involved in the assassination attempt? As Scotty's testimony began to unravel, it became evident that something was off. Surveillance footage showed him calmly leaving the scene, with no signs of panic, walking toward the gate of the villa. When questioned further, Scotty not only refused to provide any names, but also declined to hand over his laptop. He vaguely mentioned a phone he had discarded, but the stories lacked conviction, leading police to suspect that he was hiding something. After 3 days of intense questioning, the police were unable to gather enough evidence to hold Scotty further, and he was released. However, suspicions about his involvement never truly disappeared. A breakthrough in the investigation occurred in 2018 when a newer B was arrested in Morocco for a matter unrelated to Martin. However, an anonymous tip-off revealed that a newer had been on the Dutch police radar for his connection to the explosives placed under Martin's car in July of that year. Upon hearing about a newer's arrest, the Dutch police immediately requested the Moroccan authorities interrogate him about the details surrounding Martin's death. During the interrogation, a newer admitted he was present the evening of the incident, but denied any involvement in planting the explosives. However, an important detail emerged. A newer revealed the name of another individual, Akraf B, who was reportedly near the scene when Martin was killed at Boccaccio. This raised further suspicions of a meticulously planned conspiracy. Anur claimed that the entire operation had been carried out under the orders of Ritu and Tagi, one of the most notorious crime bosses, who wanted to eliminate Martin for the information he had exposed on his Vlinderscrime blog. According to Anur, Scotty was merely a decoy in the assassination attempt. He also revealed that the weapon used had been thrown into the Amsterdam Rhine Canal, a crucial detail that had previously eluded the authorities. On April 17, 2018, the police conducted a search of the canal area and discovered 2 firearms, a significant breakthrough in the investigation. Martin's death was no longer a mystery. It was part of a larger criminal plot involving numerous key players and testimonies that could not be ignored. However, the guns found in the Amsterdam Rhine Canal were not the ones used in Martin's assassination. Just when it seemed like all hope of uncovering the truth had been extinguished, the case was reignited in October 2019 with a crucial new lead. The program Opsporing Verzik revealed that Scottish police were desperately searching for a notorious criminal organization, headed by the Gillespie brothers. James and Barry Gillespie, along with Christopher H. Better, known as Christopher Hughes or Scotty, the decoy in Martin's assassination, were all wanted criminals. The secret behind the financial backing of Martin's blog began to unravel. It turned out that it had all been a trap, a sophisticated plan to lure Martin deeper into the criminal underworld. For all his belief that he was playing a dangerous game, Martin had unknowingly become ensnared in a conspiracy far more perilous than he had ever imagined. After witnessing the collapse of the plan, Scotty quickly disappeared from the Netherlands, living and hiding across Europe, using fake documents to conceal his identity. For 2 years, he evaded capture, leaving no trace behind. However, Hughes' criminal lifestyle eventually caught up with him. In 2020, he was arrested in Italy and extradited to Scotland, where he faced serious charges related to Martin's death. The Glasgow court, which tried Hughes in 2022, delivered a harsh sentence on charges connected to the international crime syndicate and Martin's murder. Scotty was sentenced to at least 25 years in prison. Finally, the decoy paid the price for his actions. Though Martin did not live to see the truth revealed, his life remains a compelling story. From humble beginnings to becoming a prominent name on the internet, Martin understood that every action has consequences. A bomb under his car? He kept writing. Bullet holes in his house and car as a warning? He continued his work. He accepted the risks, lived with them, and never feared. Martin could be seen as a brave hero, but it's undeniable that he played with fire. He lived until the age of 49, and despite constant danger, he never abandoned the life he loved. Was it worthy of praise to take risks and defy warnings in pursuit of his passion, or was it reckless self-destruction? With the dramatic twists and unsolved mysteries in his life, Martin's story undoubtedly leaves us reflecting on the choices, courage, and value of life. No matter how his story ended, Martin's life will forever be remembered as a legendary tale filled with suspense and intrigue. What do you think of Martin's decisions? Share your thoughts and join the discussion on the valuable lessons this story offers. Don't forget to support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.